Okay, well, leadership, to me, I had an interesting experience with how leadership, how I developed as a leader, let's put it that way. When I was in college, I took a course. It was called Leadership 101. I figured no problem. Study a couple of leaders, write a couple of essays, easy A, I was all for it. First day of class, I go down to the classroom where it was. I wasn't sure where the building was. Had to ask directions on campus a little bit. And I find this thing that looks like a maintenance shed out behind the science building. And that's where my classroom is. I walk into the classroom. It's all boys. All boys. I'm thinking to myself, I can do this. All boys, wonder where they've all been. All of a sudden, big blur of blue comes running up to the front of the classroom and proceeds to announce this. Welcome to ROTC Leadership 101, where my job is to turn you boys into men. And I'm thinking, he doesn't notice the blonde chick in the back of the classroom? That course was an eye-opener for me. I tried to drop it, quite honestly. Once I realized that at the beginning of each class, we were going to have to run 5 miles at the beginning of each class, sucking in wind, cursing myself, trying not to let those boys get the best of me. Started pretty early for me. We went over walls. We did obstacle courses. And half of the time, he's screaming at me. Screaming. He was not happy I was in the class initially. I definitely felt a little sense of anger there. Didn't think he really knew what to do with me. And he'd scream, you in the pink corduroys, get over the wall. And for me, I just was trying to make it through. My parents would have killed me if I dropped the class. I couldn't have afforded to drop the class. And so it comes time for the final exam. Captain Evil tells us that we are going to be taking our final exam in the science building, and I'm thinking, hallelujah, an academic classroom. I can finally do this. Maybe we're going to write essays about our experience. The final exam was the only grade that we got for the quarter. Pass the final exam, get an A. Fail the final exam, get an F. So I walk into the room that is my final exam room, and I am standing on the roof. Final exam for ROTC leadership was jumping off the building. Now, there are a lot of things I'm not afraid of, but heights is one of those things that freak me out a little bit. High heels even get me a little nervous at times. And my mind was racing. How am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this? The boys are pumped. All we got to do is jump off this building and we get our A, and they're jumping, and they're jumping. And I don't know if any of you have ever jumped off a building before, but what they do is they put on your pretty belt that's holding your pink corduroys up a little hook. And then they put dental floss through the hook. Well, it looked like dental floss to me. Through the hook, and you hold on to it. And if you're standing, balls of your feet on the building, heels of your feet off the building, and you lean, and you lean, and you lean till you're not on the building anymore. You're on the side of the building. Now, this instructor was in my face. He's screaming, he's screaming. And now I'm the only one left on the roof, me and Captain Evil, and you can do this, you can do this, come on, you can do this. And I'm like in tears. I tried crying. I told him I was going to pass out. I told him I was going to cry. I pulled out every stupid girl trick I could think of. Nothing. The man had no feeling. In the end, he got really tiny, because I really was a puddle. And he said, Cadet, I've watched you push yourself past everything all semester long. I believe that you can do this. Do you believe that you can do this? I've watched you do things that you didn't believe you could do. I think you should jump off the building. And that's what I needed. I looked at him, kind of shocked, and leaned. And the next thing you know, I was at the bottom, not even upside down or on my head. And the kind of power that I felt was power that I've tapped into for years later. Now, the big lesson here is that he adjusted how he responded to me What wasn't working before, that was working with all the boys, was getting them all juiced up, was simply not working with me. I was wired differently. As a leader and as someone who was trying to groom leaders like you are in your businesses, he had to figure out how to communicate with me. He had to figure out how to help me find the leader in myself. And he did that by adjusting his approach. And so to me, one of the biggest keys that we have in developing leaders is by taking an individual approach with everyone that we're dealing with to understand where their strengths and their fears are, to push past it.